So have you ever had it where you started recording, you did this whole intro, explained how everything was going to work, and then you realize you had the camera in time-lapse mode? Yeah. Anyway, when I did that, I didn't have a lawnmower running over there. Like, it was good-ish. Here we go again. So, here's what we're doing today. Going to mess around with powder coating. I've done a little bit of it with good results, just on a small scale. But with the Dune Buggy project, we have these arms, and I bought these arms used. I didn't want to spend like ridiculous amounts of money for brand new stuff, and you know, I'm not sure any of this is going to work. So I've been collecting all the different parts and pieces for it, and anyway, when I got these, I knew that they were going to be rough because they've been beat up on. They're used. They're in good shape as far as structural goes, but powder coat's flaking off. So initially I was going to just paint them. Wasn't really too worried about it. I was going to scuff them up and paint them, but then, you know, as I got into it, I didn't realize kind of how bad they were. And also, I do have some black powder. And what I did though, the first one is I was like, all right, well, how do I strip powder coating? Looked that all up and used some aircraft remover, stripper stuff on this. Some of it bubbled up right away, came right off. A lot of it didn't. It took a long time. Probably took me a couple hours to get this to this point. It's not perfect, but it's way better. So it's almost like bare metal. Not quite bare metal, but the really stuck spots just didn't come off no matter what. So I'm not really concerned about that. But this is like the way you should do it. Strip it all the way down. With this one, what I want to do is basically just get all the flaky stuff off and scuff it up. You know, I'll probably just blast it a little bit to give it that grit so that it'll stick. And so I'm going to do one that's like the way you're supposed to do it. Just imagine this is perfectly clean, brand new, and I did awesome work here. Anyway, more gooder. This one will just be like a quick, you know, let's see if we can get this to a point where we can coat it in like 20 minutes instead of 2 hours, because that's just I don't want to spend all that time like I did there. A lot of time, a lot of elbow grease. So this one, you know, hopefully it works. If nothing else, I know I can take it back to that. I can go through that whole process, which I was planning on doing for all of them anyway. But this gives me an opportunity to test out powder coating this way and then powdering over an existing powder coat. Obviously the flaky stuff we want off, but I also want to see how this flows out, if you can see where there's powder and where there's not, if it actually gives you like seams and stuff like that. And we'll have a direct comparison between these two, which are basically the same part, left and right side. So we can check that out, and then we'll see how it wears, because, you know, if this side holds up better than this side over time, then we'll know. So it's a learning process, and maybe you'll learn some stuff along the way. So going to go through the whole powder coating process. Not a professional. Nope. I have this set up. My initial intro didn't have any of this set up, but it's there. I'm still going to show you the time lapse of setting that up and doing it, and then the oven. And as we go through the steps, I will let you know what I'm doing. Hopefully don't forget to take it out of time lapse mode when I'm talking. Yeah. gonna get rolling on this and just walk you through it. Maybe you learn something. I know I'm gonna learn something, or 4 things, or eight. Stay tuned. Next thing we need to do is clean this thing off. After sandblasting, you can see it's not perfect, but it's definitely all textured, which is how it should be. Okay, dull. We're just gonna blow some of this stuff off here. I'm going to follow the same process for both exactly, and one of the things that you're supposed to do is heat up like on a, if you're overshooting, there could be contaminants in the other poly or whenever you're doing stuff, powder. Anyway, so we want to bake this and help bake off any of those contaminants as well. So we're going to just pre-bake it, and don't have to go to the 400 degrees that the powder coat is. We just want to, you know, bake off any possible contaminants, give us the best chance for heating. It just barely fits in here. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna hang this and do all. Yeah. But for now, I just need to bake. Just gonna do 250 for 10 minutes. All right, so that's baked and done. Neighbor's cutting the grass. Sorry, I am not waiting. So I wanted to get this going. So anyway, gonna go through this whole thing. I'll talk a little bit louder, hopefully you hear me. Gotta think through things before you do them. So we have this set up, ready to go. We have the part in there, it's already cooled off. I'm gonna grab that. But I don't want to contaminate it and screw up all the work we've done so far. So fingers are greasy and grimy. Well, not grimy, but greasy. No fingerprints, no contaminants. Gloves. Okay, so one of the things I want to point out is in this oven, it's sitting on this rack. That was just to bake it, you know, to pre-bake it, I should say. That's not going to work when we go to cure the powder coat because obviously it'll have a line there. So need to figure out how I'm going to hang it in there so that it can bake. Have an idea. Gonna go ahead and do that real quick, and then that'll be ready. I'll have that. So that's the end thing. I want to make sure I can go right from powder into there without getting any powder off of it or whatever the case may be. So also, these right here are the bushings where bolts go to go up and down. We do not want any powder in there because then the bolts won't fit. Here, this is also an area that we wouldn't really want powder in. So want to plug those. In fact, this, I'm less concerned about this because I can just like zzz. So we'll use this to hang. We're gonna plug these. And what you do to do that is this high temp stuff. Silicone plugs. So I gotta find the plugs that will fit in here. So I go ahead and prep that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the powder have the plugs in when I spray the powder, take the plugs out so that I can use this to hang, because obviously this isn't going to fit hanging from the top, which would be great if it did, but it won't. So I got to go this way. So I have to have an ability to hold that part up. All right, so I'm going to plug these. Too big. All right, so I'm building myself a hanger system for not only to do the powder coat, but also for the oven. This is a pretty heavy part, so I'm going to probably just poke holes through the box and do that, but I'll show you that in a minute. But right now I'm just trying to get this. This will be for those. By the way, stainless steel welding rod, because I have it. It's sitting there and I've been using it in years. So that's what I'm using. And you know what I just realized that I hadn't thought of? We have a problem. This right here is rubber. So when that goes in the oven, that would be a problem. So that'll melt. Have I set this all up for nothing? Because I did look for these, for replacements for this, and they just don't exist. So, at least not that I could find. So that would be bad, ruining the part to do powder coating. Well, good catch. Because I'd be buying brand new ones of these. So we're gonna not powder coat, because I don't want to mess up the actual part. Dang it. Recap. So initially when I got the parts and pieces for the dune buggy, I thought everything was replaceable, like the bushings and stuff. Couldn't find them for that. And I remember thinking, I'm not gonna be able to powder coat these. I'm gonna have to paint them because I don't want to get that rubber hot, and I want to be able to use those. I forgot. My brain just disengaged completely because I wanted to powder coat it, and I just forgot that I couldn't do that without screwing it up. That's okay though. Stuff happens. I caught it before I put it in the oven and melted it and ruined the part. Okay, so good. Always double, triple check, because your brain might disengage. Anyway, not a professional, as we know. However, I did want to continue to do the powder coat. I want you guys to see what the powder coating process is. Doesn't matter what the part is, really. So you're still going to see that. I still want to test out this makeshift booth that I have here for spraying. Going to turn the vacuum on, see if that works. I have a piece of aluminum here, just scrap piece actually. The other side's painted and has a little bit of powder actually on it. But I'm going to use that, and then just grabbed a wrench from a really old toolbox that's just sitting in the corner, never gets used. Figured, yeah, might as well do that too. So I just clean these real quick. Put a hole here so I can hang it. Again, process is the same. You're still going to see the process. Just not on the A-arms for the dune buggy. Sorry. But don't worry. We'll get those squared away. Alright, so powder coating. Have this set up. I've already tested bringing it from here and putting it into the oven. It might work. We'll see. I'm not too worried about it. This is testing stuff anyway. So, powder coat, how it works. There is a powder gun. Okay. Powder, I have bags here. This is all Eastwood stuff. I got this a while ago. Haven't used it much. And this goes on here, right? You put powder in here. And then you have this device over here that has high and low voltage. And you plug it in. There's a button. You push the button, and it negatively charges this part and positively charges the stuff. There's a metal piece in here that positively charges what's coming out, and it sticks to that. That's it. It has to be conductive. Electrical stuff has to flow through it, right? So that works. So I have this black semi-gloss powder, which I haven't used yet anyway, so I'm gonna test it out, do it, go through the whole process. Again, I went over here and I made sure that I can come from here and hang it in there. Probably not going to be the most graceful thing in the world. Whatever, it's fine. Really, I want to test this out, make sure, see if this works the way I anticipated, and then just show you the whole process so you have an idea what it is. And then I'll find something to powder coat on this thing, or something else for sure. Just not the others. So, I'm going to go ahead and put the powder in and get this all squared away. Oh, I have a regulator on this because you don't want to, it's air hose connects into here. You don't want a 90 psi of powder. It's just going to go everywhere. You want just a mist of it, and you'll see. But I have that throttling down from the compressor so that it's just coming out, less craziness. So I have that already set up. I'm just using the spoon. I'm way over here. I should have a mask on. And I do have a mask when I spray it, but for this I'm just making sure I'm far enough away. That should be more than enough. Put that on this here again. This is the negative end. We need to make sure that this is on what we're spraying. The other reason I'm using stainless steel is it's a very good conductor, so I could just attach this there, and then this part will be negatively charged. I'm doing this pretty far out instead of being in there. I kind of want to see if I get downdraft, so I'm doing that on purpose. So let me do that. High voltage stuff, so you definitely want to be careful. This end is positively charged. If you touch the part, it gives shock, that kind of thing. So I want to be careful with it, as with anything electrical. This is the trigger. When I squeeze this trigger, that'll be charged. I'll do this one, move the connector over, and do the other one.
to work so you see the whole thing.
So the wind is actually pretty bad up in here, so it's too far out. But as I go in there, definitely see it getting pulled into the you get to learn what to do and not to do at the same time. See? All right, so now I'm going to disconnect that one. Get it in the oven there. See what that looks like. Also, don't know if you saw, but I didn't start the vacuum right away, and then I did, and you could see it actually sucking it in, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely doing its job. See that? Looks all right. Let's see. All right, so we got to flow it out, which means you look in there and you see when it starts getting shiny. And then 20 minutes after that at 400. So I'm going to start the oven, watch it to flow out, and then set the timer to 20. Still baking. I made more mistakes. Just looked in on it. Also, it's hard outside with all the reflections and stuff. I've done it in the garage. You could see a lot better. You know, I know. So I'm learning what not to do. But anyway, the other thing that I did is the wrench was actually touching the burner. No, that's not good. So I was able to kind of move it. It was still, the powder was just starting to flow out. So it was gooey, but I was able to move it and kind of clean out that burner real quick. Don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. So anyway, I'm going to now, oh, I didn't realize that was in there. That was done. Okay. So I do want to show you this. See if you can see all that. Lots of powder in there, but most of it is there. That seemed to work. And it definitely, when it was put in there a little bit further, drew it in. Now, the vacuum's just a tiny little vacuum. If I put more power to it, it'd be better. But definitely did the job because most of it's there. It's not sitting on the bottom. Usually I have a bunch of it on the bottom. There's still some on the bottom, obviously, but usually it's a bunch and outside of it, and that's not the case. So I'm going to close this up like so. Label it. Booth. Box. Just call it box. Powder coating box. There we go. Alright. So I will now be able to reuse that when I don't screw up and try to coat the wrong parts. And definitely have some plans for the car for this. But for right now, tested and successful. Storage. So, buzzer went off. It's hot. I'm just going to let that cool down. And we'll see what they look like. I also see that it's touching the bottom there. You want to know what not to do, correct? I did a lot of what not to do today, and that's okay. Stuff happens. I could just erase all of the footage and not show any of it. Nope. Can't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are how you learn the most. So, and being willing to do it. So don't be afraid of mistakes. It's going to happen. I can put out this perfect, whatever. So, gonna let that cool. But started another thing real quick. Show you that. So, lemons meet lemonade. I was already planning on painting these. Had the idea to powder coat them. Cool thing is, the prep work is exactly the same. So it's already prepped. This one's already ready to go. So I'm just going to paint it. And then I'll know that this one's good and it doesn't get all dirty and all that stuff again. So I'm going to go ahead and spray this like initially planned. So you get to see that as well. You will notice that I use the same mechanism that was for the other thing. Look at that. Pretty cool. And I also have things blocking the paint from getting where they shouldn't go. Also, this is a really cool thing. Don't know if you use these, but if you do a lot of spray painting, fingers hurt when you do this. It gets everywhere. So I'm going to pop this thing on. just have to see, make sure the nozzle's pointing straight. And much nicer on the hand, and you can have a better flow with it. We're going to do a bond coat, real thin coat. So this is Rust-Oleum hammered, so it's got a textured coating anyway, which is one of the reasons I want to use it on high imperfections. It's got a pretty cool look to it. So it goes on pretty heavy though. So I tried to do a thin coat. It is thin, but I'm going to go back over it. The can's almost out, so I'm going to grab another one. And then recoat. I always look at the recoat times. Go by those. Put a heavy or a medium coat on. It says to put at least 2 medium coats on. I like to do a bond coat, which is just like a thin one, and then I'll do 2 medium coats. Little run there, so I just wiped it off with a paper towel and re-hit it. Again, it's textured paint, so forgiving. These are pulled down. Let's see what we have. Okay, so that is the powder coated wrench right there. Actually, oh yeah, there it is. So that's the part. Yeah, you can see it. It's not so much here, but right there, right there. I'm not sure you can see that. That's where it touched the burner, and problem. So anyway, I did it hastily. I was just trying to find something to powder coat quickly, so you could still see the process because I had it all set up, and I wanted to test a couple things anyway. Overall, though, it looks really good, nice and thick. And you can see powder doesn't hide all the imperfections. You can see some of the imperfections in the wrench. I didn't go crazy with the wrenches. I used one, grabbed it out of a toolbox, done. So yeah, that piece right there that's not covered. And then, of course, I just hung it by the closed end of the wrench. So there's a piece in there that's not done. I didn't really care because I knew I was just testing it out. But I still have a paperweight that I will use, most likely. So that was a 7/16 and it's forged in the USA. Yeah, so I can still read all this stuff there. So I still have all the details. Pretty cool. Alright. Now, this was actually I think it was chromed. Not chrome, but it had stuff on it. Shiny. I didn't even dull it down. Just threw it out there. Anyway. This is the black aluminum. Well, the aluminum that is now black. This actually came out pretty good. You can see there. Now you can also see powder finds its way all the way around a piece, because again it's magnetized, so as you blow the powder, it just gets kind of sucked in. So even though I had this thing here and I was only doing this side, that powder coat that came around the outside got attached to the back side. And again, this is just a test piece. Pretty cool. I like it. I like the effect of that. Anyway, so yeah, works on aluminum because it conducts electricity. And it coated really nice and thick. Again, with this, I didn't go crazy on fixing any of the dents or any of that. There are some dimples and things in here. And I think that's because I did something wrong with the powder coat. Well, even so though, I'm not gonna, it's good. Not worried about it. If you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not. So there are some imperfections there, but for a black piece, good. And right here, by the way, I touched the piece with the gun. Again, being outside, it's very hard to see. I didn't have the right light. And that box, I should have put a light shining into the box that allowed me to see better. Again, I wasn't really too, if I was making a final piece, I would have addressed that. But, you know, just to get it powder coated, there you go. So we have a wrench powder coated and a piece of aluminum that is powder coated, and came out pretty well considering I did everything wrong. But now you know the process if you haven't seen it before. But here's the thing. If you're only going to make a couple pieces, or if you want, you're just doing it here and there, obviously just take it to a place and have them powder coat it. I wanted to play with it. I wanted to be able to powder coat certain things and do it when I felt like it. So have some ideas for what I'm going to powder coat, you know, small pieces, you know, in the car, and also just in general. I have some other ideas, craft type things that I will use it for, which is really what I got it for. So obviously that oven's not huge, so it's just for smaller stuff. It's the same process as what they use when you take it there. They're still going to go through, clean it up, they're going to chemically clean it, then they're going to abrade it and clean it again, pre-bake it usually, not always, but pre-bake it. Put this on, cook it. It's the same process. They just have a lot more expensive equipment, a lot better equipment, and I've been doing it for a long time. So this is not to say you're going to get the same results as a pro. You are not going to get the same results, but you can get good results at your house or whatever. So if you're interested in doing it, I wouldn't say stay away from it, that's for sure. It's pretty cool to be able to do it. And I have some cool colors that I got that I will try out at some point. And you'll see that maybe on here. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something, at least the experience. You learned a lot of what not to do. And that's a win. Okay, we're just going to take the win. I did want to mention one other thing that's cool about powder coating. So when it's done in the oven, after it's cooled off, it's usable. Like right now, you don't have to wait for it to cure or any of that stuff. It's already cured. So this stuff, if I powder coated something, I could put it right on vehicle, whatever. Just put it into use right away. I painted that A-arm. Had to do a few coats, 3 coats actually, and it's 90 minutes before you can handle it and 48 hours before it's fully cured. So where this, you can just start bolting stuff on, it makes it quicker. That really you want to wait, you know, a couple days before you actually start bolting that stuff up. So that's another thing to mention about powder coating, which is really cool. You can turn stuff around really quick. It does take a little bit more in the process, but again, if you're doing it more than I am, and if you have a setup, you know, like now I have kind of a setup where I can set this up and go, and should be able to do it pretty quickly. But you can put things right in the service, which is really cool as far as this goes. So, you know, if you're doing a valve cover or whatever, you can take the valve cover off, do this, put the valve cover on as soon as it's done. You don't have to keep the engine open or cover it with other stuff, whatever. So anyway, wanted to point that out. Powder coating's cool stuff. It's also a pain in the butt if you have to take it off. Thanks for watching.